Thank you for joining us today on Palo Alto's next generation firewall capabilities demo and Black Sun Managed Security Services overview. Our demo is geared towards network operations, data center, and security administrators who have not seen these firewalls in action or maybe using an older version and would like to see the new security features. Now let's get right into the demo.
Thanks, Gyula. We'll start with the login and dashboard. When we first sign into the user interface, we see the dashboard, which shows a summary of the configuration, which consists of device information and user information, which is about the admins. We would like to start our demo today by clicking on the ACC tab, which stands for Application Command Center. Palo Alto Network's next-generation firewalls classify all application traffic. It inspects the contents of packets, identifies users, and stops threats. The ACC provides this knowledge in an interactive, easy-to-use, and visual way. This provides you with the ability to make informed security decisions. The first thing we notice in the ACC is a graphical depiction of all applications traversing the network. This is in the application usage section here, but we also see user activity by bytes sent and bytes received. If we scroll down, we also see the traffic broken down by source IP and destination IP. We also see the source regions and destination regions. This shows you a world map on which you can see where traffic is coming from and going to. We also see Global Protect host information here. There is no data here because we do not have remote users in this demo, but this is where you would see information about remote users. You also see on the right here the rule usage, which shows the rules that are allowing or blocking the most traffic. So the ACC is like a 10,000-foot view of your network with the ability to quickly dive down to a more granular view. The ACC is a standard feature that does not require any additional licensing.
Now, can you walk us through and explain of how an administrator or an analyst would use the ACC to gain important insights into network and threat activity?
Excellent idea. This will show us the true power of ACC and how it connects all the capabilities of the next generation firewall to provide actionable and intuitive data. The application usage graph at the top is at the front and center in the ACC. It shows all traffic grouped by applications. The tree map displays the applications by category, which is in dark gray here, such as general internet and networking. You also see application subcategories, which are in the lighter gray here: internet utility, file sharing, encrypted tunnel, and so on. The applications themselves are color-coded by risk. Red is risky, green is safe, and so on. Below you can see the applications sorted by most bytes transmitted. We can click on any category or application to drill down into more detail. Now let's click on General Internet. Now we can see all applications associated with this category. We see web browsing taking up the majority of the bandwidth here, which is expected in a perimeter deployment like this. But we can also see that Rapid Share is taking up a suspiciously large portion of the network traffic.
Can you tell us a bit more about Rapid Share for those viewers who may be unfamiliar with the app?
Of course. So if you hover over here and see the value, the pop-up here provides us with a description of the application, provides us a category, it lists the standard ports, a risk level, as well as other things to look out for when dealing with this application. With this next-gen firewall, the application ID feature is always on for all traffic, regardless of the port, thanks to this app ID technology. Let's drill down a little more. Let's click on Rapid Share here. Now we can see in detail all the traffic associated with Rapid Share in this widget. The large amount of bytes here might grab your attention. With another click, we can promote this filter for further analysis. So you see this filter here, which says Add Global Filter. Let's click it. To promote a filter means to filter all global network traffic by this application. So what we've done now is we've applied this filter to all widgets in the ACC. You can see a filter string up here in the left navigation bar. As you can see, we show all users of Rapid Share here, all IPs associated with this traffic, source and destination regions, and also the rules associated with Rapid Share. But for now, let's take a look at some user activity that catches our eye. Vonek Yula here is the #1 user of Rapid Share in the last 7 days. The user ID capabilities within the firewall enables us to identify users by name rather than just having an IP address. Let's take a closer look at Yula's usage of Rapid Share by promoting this filter as well. And to promote this filter, I'll click Add Global Filter again. And now we are filtering everything by Rapid Share as well as Vonek Yula. So when looking at the source IP activity, we see that all the rapid share traffic is coming from a client computer called CLI02 in the lab. Now I'm curious, let's look at the regions. We also see that all the traffic is coming from the headquarters, which is a set of internal IP addresses here, and it's going to several countries and regions here. Let's find out more. Let's look at the rules. A large amount of this traffic, in fact, most of this traffic is coming from a rule called watch risky apps. We can now perform a very easy global search to find the instance of which specific risky apps rule is being applied from our rule base. If I click here and click global find, you'll see the security rule. And if I just hover over here, you will see the name of the rule and the definition of the rule without ever having to leave the ACC tab. Looking at this definition, we can see that it is obviously an allow rule, but you may ask yourself if you should modify this rule to change how the firewall is handling rapid shares traffic.
So let's do a quick recap. So far, we established some knowledge that will help us toward making an informed decision. Gyula has been using rapid share. It transferred a lot of data from headquarters to several countries from a lab desktop, and it passed it through a rule called watch risky apps.
Yes, that's correct. Now, of course, it would also be interesting to see what else Gyula has been doing outside of rapid share. As you can see, we have a filter string from our activity on the left-hand side of the screen. We could remove any filter here. So let's say we want to remove rapid share. We just remove the rapid share part of the filter string. We can quickly see all the activity from Gyula across all applications. And now let's click home here. Now you can see all the applications that were being used by Gyula in the last 7 days. Within this application usage widget, we can also see a threats column, and you can see that Gyula has encountered some threats. This is definitely worth exploring. We've only been using the network activity tab, but there are also other tabs available as well. By default, ACC will display the network, threat, blocked activity, and tunnel activity tabs. So let's just look at the threat activity tab to see what threats were encountered by Gyula. We can see information about threat behavior across the network, such as hosts that were visiting any malicious domains. We can also see wildfire activity by file type, and we can see other information like applications using non-standard ports. You can always drill down into more detail or promote any item or utilize global filters to help find other instances of events, host names, rules. All in all, this tab provides you with valuable information about all kinds of threat activity in the network. Finally, let's select the blocked activity tab. In this tab, you can find information about blocked applications, blocked users, and blocked content, as well as information about which policies are actively blocking said content. We can see Gyula's web activity. It was blocked a few times because of a threat and the session was terminated. So at this point, I want to show you how to customize the tabs we just used. You can add, move, or remove widgets from each of the tabs, and you can create the fully custom tab as well. All the widgets displayed in the 3 or 4 default tabs can also be used interchangeably, meaning you can tailor what ACC displays for each individual user. You might even want to create a widget that is dedicated to watching Gyula's behavior or maybe rapid share specifically. Just click the plus icon here. I'll show you how this works. So you click add widget, and it will show you all the additional widgets that are available here. You can add them to your view, and you can also customize them. So now we've gathered a lot of information about Gyula's application usage, his threat activity, and established which rule was triggered. There should be enough information for us to modify the watch risky apps rule that we identified previously. Let's once again click on the search icon in the top right corner. Since it remembers our search, this time let's just click this. This will take us directly to this rule into the policies tab. So here you can see the watch risky apps rule. Of course, there are other rules in this policy tab. We are currently only seeing this one rule though, and a couple of others, because these are the only rules that are being produced by our search. Let's bring up the other rules. I'm going to clear this filter so that it shows you all the rules, including the risky apps. Now we can see all the rules in our evaluation order in the policy tab. This firewall allows you to manage and control applications through a single rule-based next-gen firewall that allows for URL filtering, threat prevention, advanced malware prevention, DNS security, data filtering, and file blocking. This means you can create and manage many different rules for all kinds of different functions. Note that these rules are human readable, which improves manageability significantly. You can see which users have access to which destinations and applications and how content is inspected. If we scroll here, you will see the source and destination. Here you can also see the applications. You can see what security profiles are being applied, and we will go into detail in a moment. You will also see the rule you set for each rule and when the rule was last hit. This simplicity translates directly into fewer errors occurring and improved security. Now we could easily open up one rule and modify it. Let me open again the Watch Risky Apps rule. Let me do a search for it and look at the Watch Risky Apps rule. The security policy rule here shows all the elements of the rule, from the name to source user, destination, application, URL category, as well as actions. Let's click on application. It shows you the application categories and subcategories that it's using. The reason why rapid share is allowed is because file sharing includes rapid share, and that's how it's allowing all that traffic. Now what we can do, instead of allowing all file sharing applications like this rule does, you could list only the file sharing applications that are sanctioned or tolerated by our organization, and that will block all other file sharing applications that are unsanctioned. We call this the positive enforcement model, which explicitly defines which applications and functions are allowed in our next-gen firewall. This approach minimizes opportunity for attackers because you're not allowing any unsanctioned applications that could be used by said attackers. Now, if you want to safely enable applications, you click the Actions tab. On this tab, you can define the security profiles that will be applied to the traffic that is allowed by the rule so that we can prevent any potential threats. As you can see, the profile setting we applied, the best practice group policy to this rule. Let's see what this profile is doing. To do that, let's go to the object, and under security profile groups, let's look at all these security groups. You can see all the security profiles grouped together here. The antivirus profile, the anti-spyware profile, vulnerability protection, URL filtering, file blocking, data filtering, as well as the wildfire analysis profile. Let's talk a bit more about Wildfire. Wildfire is the Palo Alto Network's cloud-based advanced malware analysis system, which uses multiple analysis techniques to detect new malware, including static analysis, dynamic analysis, and also bare metal analysis. The security profile group you see here was applied to our Watch Risky Apps allow rule, so that any traffic that is allowed by this security rule is inspected and allowed only if it is safe. This is a best practice security profile group that can be applied to allow all rules. This shows that this next-gen firewall can apply rules to not only applications and users, but also include all these aforementioned security capabilities in a single rule, which makes administering everything a lot simpler, and it makes it easier to make changes.
Let's pause for a quick recap now. If you were looking at overall network activity in the ACC and release that rapid share was creating significant amount of traffic with just a few clicks, you showed how we could learn more about rapid share thanks to App ID technology. You also found that Yula was a primary user of the application. You were able to quickly identify Yula by name thanks to the user ID capabilities. You also found that Yula was a primary user of the application. You were able to quickly identify Yula by name thanks to the user ID capabilities. From the CLI 02 computer, he was sending information to different regions. You also found that Yula's computer was generating threat traffic with just a few more clicks. You were able to examine the security rules. You also discussed how to modify them to ensure only sanctioned applications where all while risky applications like rapid share are blocked. Did I get everything?
Yes, I think you accurately captured everything with that recap. Thank you. Now let's take a look at some more of the capabilities of this next-gen firewall, many of which are unique to Palo Alto networks. One of these unique capabilities is the ability to prevent credential theft. Let's see how we would go about doing this. Let me click Cancel here, go back to Objects and look at the URL filtering profiles. Let me show you one of these profiles, such as the default one. Here you see the URL filtering profile, which can be applied to any security rule on the firewall. Let's look at the column name user credential submission. Notice that some of the categories are blocked. For example, the command control category is blocked. What this means is that if a user in your organization visits a phishing website, the next-gen firewall will detect that the user is submitting valid corporate credentials to a URL that belongs to one of these blocked categories like command and control, and thus will deny the transaction. Even if you have an open internet policy, or if the website is explicitly allowed by your organization, this will still be blocked. The user will see a message explaining why the transaction was blocked, which in this case would be that this was a phishing attempt. In addition, we also protect against any credentials that may be stolen despite your best efforts. The firewall can enforce multi-factor authentication so that the attacker is unable to use the stolen credentials to access sensitive data. These are both unique capabilities of Palo Alto firewalls. Now, since over 80% of the total traffic on the internet is encrypted nowadays, let's see how we can decrypt traffic without compromising users' privacy. For that, let me click Cancel, go back to the Policies tab, and look at the decryption policies. And let me click Add here at the bottom, which will bring up a dialog box, which shows you how to add a decryption policy rule. Here you can see information about the sources, the destination, and your category. Let's go through these in this particular tab. What you can see is all the source users and groups from your Active Directory or from any user directory that you happen to use. Here you can select the group whose traffic you want to start decrypting. For example, you could start by choosing the Sophos mobile group so that only their traffic is decrypted. And then later on, you could go ahead and roll out this decryption policy to your entire organization. You can also choose to decrypt traffic based on URL category. Let's have a look at how we could do this. Best practice that we recommend to our customers is that you decrypt traffic to the high-risk category of URLs. Here we also allow a URL to be classified into multiple categories. For example, let's say a new website comes up which claims to do financial transactions. However, it is risky because it was registered less than 30 days ago and because of various other indicators. But choosing the high-risk category in this dropdown, you will be able to decrypt and inspect such high-risk traffic, even though that the URL also belongs to the financial services category. The ability to categorize a URL into multiple categories is also a unique capability of Palo Alto networks.
So to recap, we saw how easy it is to selectively decrypt traffic based on user and URL category. This allows you to secure encrypted traffic safely and without compromising privacy.
Exactly.
Now, can you spend a little time on the best way for our customers to get started with new generation firewall, since so often they have hundreds or 7,000 of exiting rules?
Sure, it's actually very easy. First, you would use a free tool called Expedition to move your rules to our new firewall. Expedition supports migrating for most existing firewalls. After migrating your rules to this firewall, you can use Policy Optimizer, which is a inbuilt tool to safely move from port-based legacy rules to application-based rules, which are much more secure and simple. Let's see how we can do this. For that, I'm going to hit Cancel here, go back to Policies, and look at the Security tab. And I'm going to click Policy Optimizer right here. I'm going to click No App Specified. This view shows you rules that do not use an application. In other words, these rules are based on ports, and since open ports can be easily misused by attackers, it's generally recommended to move to application-based rules. Let's take a look at how we can achieve this. Let me choose a rule here and click the applications that have been seen on that port-based rule. We selected the rule here called LAN 75 to DMZ 85, which does not specify any applications. The Policy Optimizer automatically shows you all the applications that were detected matching this port-based rule. Perhaps this rule was created in the past for allowing all outbound workstation traffic, but it's now become a potential point of ingress for attackers. Thus, we would like to block RDP from clients to domain controllers. From this rule, you can choose the applications that are indeed sanctioned and create a new rule to allow only those applications. Let me show you another capability. The policy optimizer also shows you rules that are not being used and therefore may indicate over-provisioned access, which could possibly be exploited by attackers. For example, this view shows you rules that have not been used in the last 30 days. You can monitor these rules and delete them once you're satisfied that they are no longer needed. We also help you continuously monitor the adoption of best practices and give you a health assessment. Our customers use a free tool called Best Practice Assessment to create a heat map of their best practice adoption. Our customers would run the tool regularly, let's say every quarter, to see the progress they're making towards the adoption of best practices and improving their organization's cyber hygiene.
Okay, let's recap one last time. Now you talked about how our audience can migrate their rules from their existing firewall to our new generation firewall by using a tool called Expedition, and how our inbuilt tool policy optimizer helps them move from old port-based rules to new, more secure and simpler-based rules. You also discussed how we help them improve cyber hygiene.
Right. And note that we're using our next generation firewall management console in this demo. As you start deploying more next-gen firewalls, you may want to transition to Panorama, the central manager. The good news is that your user experience is exactly the same whether you are managing a single firewall or you are managing multiple firewalls centrally. And this concludes our demo. If your organization is interested in adding a similar next-gen firewall to their network, then let me introduce you to BlackCell's customized managed security service. Our security professionals are available up to 24/7, helping you implement and manage various security appliances. We provide our service in both English and Hungarian. Our customers can expect rapid response times, which are enforced by a strict service line agreement. We are also available to help with answering general questions not addressed in the documentation, addressing issues resulting from a product not functioning as described in the documentation, providing help and guidance regarding threat detection, providing help and guidance regarding extended policy configuration and customer filter optimization. To find out more about our managed services, visit www.blackcell.io. Thank you very much for your attention.